The weapons of my game look terrible, so today we're gonna fix that. We're gonna do improvements to some weapons and completely rework others. So to begin, I think we can start with the dagger, since it's the simplest one of them all. All it needs is some new textures, and it already looks 10 times better just with that. Now we can do some work on the scimitar. It already looks pretty decent, but I'm not satisfied with how this hilt looks, so I went ahead and did a little redesign here. Then came the texturing. I decided to keep it clean and polished, unlike the dagger. I also added some details and carvings here, which I'm not too sure if I like it or not, but what matters is that it looks good now. The next weapon we're gonna work on is the good old longsword. Since it's a pretty simple weapon, there's not much that we have to do here. Just some adjustments on the modeling, some retexturing, and there you go, it's looking pretty amazing. This is so far my favorite one. I really enjoy the dark look of the hilt and the contrast with the blade, and overall I think it's looking pretty realistic, which I kinda like. But now we have the biggest challenge of them all, which is this thing over here. This sword is a placeholder that I made way back in the day, just so that I had something to look at. Back then, I named it the Dragon Keep Sword, so to keep with the theme, I decided to go with a Chinese design for it. This was all very simple to do, however, when it came down to texturing, it was so difficult. At first I wanted to give it a Damascus steel look, but it wasn't too good. Then I thought of making it black and red, which also wasn't very good. Then I had to come up with colors for the handle, which was even harder. I wanted to make this sword look like a dragon slaying blade, and getting this look was definitely not easy. I ended up making the whole blade red, with the guard and pommel being orange. For contrast, I made the handle be a lighter color, like a light gray. And I don't know if I was successful in giving it the desired look, but I think it looks good enough compared to how it was before, of course. Now we have finished pretty much all of them. The last one that needs some work is this huge one over here. This is the Sword of Genesis, and I pretend on making it the final and the best sword in the game. The whole plot is going to be about retrieving it and using it to kill the final boss, so I better make it look good. I had a lot of work to do with this one. The main problem that it had was the proportions. They were all messed up. So I went ahead and made the handle a little bit longer, changed the pommel, made this little part here longer as well, and the whole blade a little bit more narrow. In the end, it looks kinda like a Zweihänder, which is pretty good in my opinion. It is actually my favorite sword in Dark Souls, so I'm really happy with that. I decided to keep the same color scheme for the sword. I just did some improvements on the texture and made it more metallic and shiny. And here's the finished result. I'm not too sure if I'm actually done with this one. There's definitely a lot of room for improvement here, but for now, I think this is pretty damn cool already. So if we go in game and test weapons, we can see that it still looks like shit. As you can see, we're missing something super important, which is weapon trails. Thankfully, that is pretty easy to do. I want my trails to look pretty basic and not something like Final Fantasy VII, for example, where there's shit flying everywhere. So the first thing to do is creating a particle system, adding trails, changing some values here and there, and this is it. We've got a pretty simple trail. But we can do a lot better than this. By adding a secondary trail with a distortion effect, we can make this simple trail look so much better. And okay, now if we swing the swords, it looks pretty cool. And just like that, the game's combat became so much more interesting and fun. Swinging the swords and hitting stuff feels awesome now, and I cannot wait to see what we'll do next. So, thank you for watching.